All right, Mike, just like every week when we start this, I can say we're live.
We're live and late.
Oh, we had a lot to do this morning, didn't we?
Well, and plus, I have computer problems actually.
Do you think it's the Russians?
No, I think it's Microsoft.
Fine, be that
hmm
way. Well,
hmm
should we go up to Redmond and ask somebody for help?
No,
I guess they're all working from home, so.
no. We'll talk about one thing that we really want their help on that I want them to be working on. So let's not bother them.
Okay, all right, all right. Hey, a lot happened this week so far. We had a great panel discussion a couple days ago about the Conti and BlackMatter gangs.
hmm
Um, and especially in the health sector, there's a lot of nervousness around the uptick in activity. And in the chat here, I'm going to go ahead and put the link to the
To the
video if
replay.
people want to see it. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there was a couple of things I was talking about that I kind of wanted to tie off, and I didn't do that when we were live. So
We only had an hour.
yeah, I know. And it was a good hour. That was really good. The chat was really good. I mean, the people that come to these things and really get engaged, that's what makes them good.
Hmm.
But as you know, the conversation kind of drifted into insurance and indemnification issues, right? Things that are really on people's minds. And the point that I was making about requirements from insurance companies are that they're the ones that are bearing the financial load here. So just like you can't get flood insurance in southern Louisiana or fire insurance in Northern California, if you represent too much risk, no insurance for you. So they get to set the requirements.
Yeah, and so I mean, is your point there that insurance companies are just going to be the regulators for all businesses, even if they're not regulated? I mean, clearly we know like healthcare, financial sector are regulated, but
Yep.
other folks aren't.
Yeah. I mean, federal contractors have to go through CMMC compliance. But for all the businesses that are not in a regulated sector, the insurance requirements are still going to apply. So, maybe eventually some consolidated set of requirements, that apply to everyone should emerge so that, we're all playing off the same sheet of cyber.
Hmm.
And one more thing. Um, one of our customers, who shall remain unnamed, had a huge increase in premiums and a drop in coverage. And what we decided with them, I won't say that, we recommended this, but we all had to talk about this. And where this landed was they're going to self-insure for a year and invest in security controls to prepare for next year. So, they're going to set aside, the amount of money that they would have been covered by, right? They used to get $1 million in coverage. Now it's $100,000 in coverage. So they're going to set that aside. And what they're going to do is they're going to spend the year investing in security. So at the end of it, they're in a better position to get insurance and be able to show their controls, and they'll be more secure.
Yeah, I mean that
That's
long
not a
play
bad
seems like a
strategy.
great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is a good strategy that's worth considering by a lot of organizations that are struggling with insurance requirements right now.
Yeah, I mean, nobody, it's a way to be declared as innovative, right? Which
Yeah.
some other people
Yeah,
aren't doing.
exactly, right?
Mhm.
I mean, thinking through the math, this is actually a good thing to do.
Hmm. Okay, enough about insurance.
Yeah.
I saw a Blast article saying that there's a measurable effect on patients at hospitals that get hit with ransomware.
hmm
Something like 20% of respondents said that ransomware led to an increase in deaths.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, just what we need, huh? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if a hospital in Idaho gets slammed right now, that's a disaster. In the study that you're talking about, a third of the respondents saw an increase in patient complications, right, when they got hit with ransomware, and 70% said delays in tests and procedures led to poor outcomes, which is kind of the health sector way of saying, oh crap. And yes, 1 in 5 said that when they were hit with ransomware, it led to an increase in deaths. So it's no surprise that we're calling this terrorism now. And back to your point about the panel, this Conti gang does not care what they take down. And this is where Cybercom and General Nakasone's promise to surge toward these operators. This is going to be happening in the background because of this.
Well, I certainly hope so, and I look forward to it. I mean, I guess we might not ever know that it happened,
Hmm.
except maybe Conti just goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of the health sector, who else got cybered this week? Port of Houston, right?
Yes and no. So, the port got cybered, as you say, but there was little, if any, impact. And the way I understand it, there was a vulnerability with a Zoho product, which is used for remote access, like help desk access, for administration. And some country, yet unnamed, was attempting to exploit it. Okay. So there was no impact. DHS worked with the Coast Guard and the port to get the vulnerability patched. And I think everyone is claiming a huge success for what was essentially a non event.
When you were interviewed about this, you made an analogy with pipelines. What was that about?
Yeah. So, so just like the TSA is supposed to create IT security standards for pipelines, right? They're the sector specific agency, and they didn't. Hence the Colonial Pipeline disaster. The U.S. Coast Guard is supposed to do that for ports. They're the sector specific agency in charge. So all these things happening to critical infrastructure means that the agencies are all going to get religion about requiring controls. And for ports, that probably means audited controls, right? They represent a gigantic economic exposure to the United States. So we'll see. But the point is, there have been sectors that have gone ignored for too long by their sector specific agencies, and that's going to change rapidly.
Yeah, and it's funny. A while ago, I talked to somebody at the Coast Guard who said that they were pretty sure that their controls were better than other sector-specific agencies.
Mm.
Maybe they're claiming victory in the with the Houston one. I don't know, but from what you're saying about the agencies and insurance all getting serious about security requirements, can businesses expect they're going to have to up their game in security, like starting now? Because it sounds like a storm of regulation is brewing. No
Hmm.
longer, sticking with what we're doing will work, right?
I'd have to say, right. I think my opinion is this is going to land on every business. Between what sector specific agencies are doing, what insurance companies are doing, in order to compete in the 21st century, you will have to demonstrate your security to your customers, shareholders, insurers, business associates. Everybody needs to be ready to show their papers. Yeah, this is the way we're going to roll from now on.
Well, 2 years ago, I talked to one of our customers who one of the reasons they signed up with us was because
Hmm.
they have government contracts, and in order to satisfy their customers, they have these giant checklists, and it was, if you can't say yes to everything,
Yeah,
you can't supply us. And I think it's they're doing HVAC stuff, but you can't
yeah.
supply us, and now there you go.
There you
All
go.
right, so let's move on to nation state activity. And by the way,
Hmm.
now they can say yes, yes, yes to everything. I forgot the punchline to the
That's
story.
right.
All right, so let's let's move on to nation state activity. Russia has arrested a top cybersecurity executive and charged him with treason.
Oh yeah.
It's funny, how I found out about this?
Hmm.
Twitter sent me an email saying that Mike Hamilton had tweeted about this. Anyway, like this is a wow. I mean, what's the story there? And what's happening with other countries that deserves attention? But I mean, first, like, what is going on?
Yeah. So Russia, this is interesting, right? You always have to kind of read between the lines when Russia does something like this. But they've arrested Ilya Sachkov, who founded a company called Group 1B, and which is a great company. And they have accused him of working with unspecified foreign intelligence services, which is kind of the obvious thing that companies like that do, right? And they're accusing him of treason. Group 1B investigates high tech fraud, crime for banks, energy companies, and they work, I think, pretty closely with Interpol. So, it's not strange at all that they would have fingered Russian criminals and perhaps turned that information over to Interpol, which has connections to the
Sure.
intelligence communities in a lot of countries. So, what it looks like to me is a message is being sent. Don't go after our own criminals. They bring in too much money and they're doing a great job destabilizing the United States.
That just gives me all the warm and fuzzies. I mean, do you
Sure.
think do you think he'll actually get 20 years? Because that's what the headline said.
Yeah, no. I think they'll make sure the message has been received and he'll be released. A legit company like Group 1B is good for Russia, and they're not going to do anything to undercut a well-performing company with a good reputation, but they do want to send a message. That's what I think.
Speaking of things that you tweeted, warnings about electromagnetic warfare showing up.
Mm.
What?
Right, you know what it is, right? So an EMP, an electromagnetic
Yeah,
pulse,
sure.
right? So I mean, that's a little hard to resist as a weapon. Make everything with a switch go dead forever. That's going to make it hard for your adversary to focus on anything but survival, given our dependence on everything electronic right now. And it doesn't cause immediate death the way kinetic methods do. If it's used as a battlefield technique, that's one thing, right? We're trying to turn off your tank or whatever. But if it's used in a civilian setting, that's crossing a line. And I will note that I forget the name of the product. It's got a cool name, but Raytheon has an EMP missile that can
Do they
select.
really?
Yes. Google it. It's interesting, right? And it can selectively nullify the electronics in a building. Okay, and so I mean, in the building, everything, right? But no collateral damage. All the street lights don't go up, whatever. So when I say, using this in a civilian setting depends on how surgical you are, but you know, think about. Like the Internet Research Agency. Remember them, right? The Russian cutout that was spreading all the disinformation prior to the 2016 election. Cybercom melted their servers, okay, like the day of the election, way too late, but they did. And that the day may come when instead we turn off the building they're working in, right?
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
It's cool too.
I almost hit, it is cool. I almost hit my mute button, or I almost forgot to hit my mute button there. So I almost got electromagnetic by myself, I guess. Anyway.
Hang on, let me. Okay.
Hey, we're getting close to time here.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't done threats and vulns. What do you got?
So apart from the aforementioned threat of the Conti gang going after critical infrastructure, which is a pretty significant threat, there is a new Azure Active Directory password brute forcing vulnerability that has no fix. It's a design flaw or a feature, depending on how you think about it. It has to do with auto logon and the use of single sign-on, but it doesn't rely on SSO. It's really complex, and I'm not qualified to go into the details. But because the brute force step can happen before a multi-factor authentication challenge goes to the user, even MFA doesn't help. So Microsoft was told about this in July, but they decided, hey, this is by design, and there we are. Right, so somebody can go password guessing,
Right.
and you'll never know that they're doing this, and eventually they'll get a hit and they're in, and so this is bad.
That's not good. What should people do?
Well, on this one, unfortunately, wait for Microsoft to do something. I don't know if there's a workaround right now. I haven't seen one. We'll find out pretty soon if this becomes one of the problems that requires an urgent panel, but it's looking like a pretty good candidate to me. Also, one more. CISA is warning about wide exploitation of a new vulnerability in VMware vCenter server. The wording they used is aggressive exploitation. It's a file upload vulnerability, and the upshot is this. Any vCenter server that can be reached over the internet is subject to arbitrary code execution. There is a patch. Patch now.
Yeah, seriously, patch now. Patch
Yeah.
now. Patch now. Okay. Time for a kicker. It's the thing that you do at the end of all of these that's supposed to make people laugh and usually fail. So what do you got? Maybe something with animals?
Mr. Gox. And if you haven't heard about Mr. Gox yet, I don't know how people could have evaded this information, because this has taken the internet and all the social media by storm. So Mr. Gox is pretty funny. This is a hamster that has its own broadcast channel, and it has its own executive office, and it starts the day in its office, and then it goes and it runs on a treadmill, and after that it can run down different tunnels that represent different types of cryptocurrency. And at the end, there's a buy or sell decision based on which tunnels Mr. Gox ran down.
That makes
So
sense.
this hamster is trading cryptocurrency and beating the crap out of the stock market. I think that's funny.
I don't know if I think that's funny.
No?
I think your version of funny is weird. It's amusing.
Yeah, but I admit that.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
okay. Maybe.
All right.
All right.
I'll try again next week, man.
Uh,
Next week, also next week when we do this, I'm going to be at a hotel in Wenatchee at the ACES conference, and I've
cool.
been looking forward to this for 2 years. So,
Yeah. They're doing hybrid. Tell people what ASIS is. A lot of people
so,
don't
oh,
know.
sorry. ACES, the Association of County and City Information Systems, right? These are the local governments and all of their IT folks that come together for a conference and share the details on how they're solving certain problems, how they're migrating their stuff to the cloud, security. I mean, lots of stuff they're talking about. And because there is a bunch of federal money that is going to be applied to state and local government for cybersecurity, there's going to be a lot of talk about that. So I'm looking forward to this conference.
Cool.
Also, don't forget security awareness training tomorrow.
Yes, right. October starts
Mhm.
tomorrow. Apparently 30 days has September, April, June, and November. So tomorrow, security awareness training, and every Friday for October. Also, we have some really cool videos that you can send folks about how scammers try to get them, how to set up a home network. If you're not getting those emails already from us with those videos, email me, jake@criticalinsight.com, and I'll send them over. It's really, or you can go look at our YouTube channel. They're great. They're really, really good videos. Mike was supposed to do some and didn't, but hey,
Hey,
we
man.
have. That's why it's a
It's
team
because
with
I'm
Mike.
well. I will say Elite's video on avoiding social engineering is really really good.
It is really good.
It's really good.
It's really good. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.